If you want to learn tarot, the worst thing you can do is to try and memorize the cards. I've tried that years ago. So the first thing is major arcana can sometimes be a little more complicated to understand, but if you look at it from the beginning, the Fool on his journey, he's starting out with hardly anything. He is taking this journey, and it's just time for him to step forward without really knowing what's coming up ahead of time. And I'm not going to go through every single card. That's what the download's for. But from there, he starts gaining experiences and meeting people and understanding his spirituality and understanding he has choices and understanding that there's compromise and there's challenges, all the way to the end where the world, where he overcomes everything or comes through everything, only to start a new cycle back into the Fool energy. Not saying he's reverting back to the way he was, but he's now at a different level, so now he's going to gain some more experiences from then on. So realistically, even though the major arcana sometimes gets a bad rap at being complicated, to me, I find it a lot easier, or at least I did when I was learning, than it was to learn the minor arcana. So you have the four suits, okay? You've got the swords, which is about thoughts and intellect. You have the wands, which is about taking action. You've got the pentacles, also known as coins, which is about your material world. It's also seen as wealth, but it goes deeper than that for each of them. And then the final one is cups, which has to do with your intuition and your emotions. So when you're dealing with the cards Ace to 10, you're also looking at like the energy of numbers, numerology. So ones represent beginnings. 10 represents endings or finale, a final. And depending on the suit, the sword suit, I realize, gets a bad rap because it often has to do with our thoughts on things. And if you look at some of the cards, for example, the 3 of Swords, you see this and you're like, ooh, that looks kind of painful. This is in the regular Rider-Waite Tarot. And often this deck is actually a good place to start, but sometimes the symbolism that you see might be a little confusing. So let me take Chris Ann's deck, the Lightseer Tarot, instead. Okay, this has a lot more emotion involved. And yet, the swords are about intellect and thought, not emotions. So you can see that this card is either her releasing this and finally getting over feeling jilted or whatever it pertains to, instead of just saying, oh, something bad really happened. Okay, so there is a difference. So I'm on one side of the fence saying start with a basic deck, which I still believe that, but if it's tough for you to see the symbolism in the simplicity of the artwork, then get something that's a little more, that has a lot more emphasis to the drawing and the things that are going on around it. Highly recommend the Lightseer Tarot from Chris Ann. This is still, years later, one of my favorite decks. So what's going on now is you learning to really take a look at the card and understand the underlying messages that you receive. Now, here's the thing. A lot of tarot readers are going to tell you this means this and that it's always going to mean that no matter what. If you read that, you're doing it wrong. You're guessing. You're doing it wrong. Well, I believe in inspirational tarot. That's how I read cards. So even if something comes up like this, I'm going to find a way to spin it into a positive. Now, I'm not saying that everything works out and everything's fine. There's always a lesson to learn, no matter what experiences you go through, okay? So really, the key to understanding tarot and really realizing that you don't have to memorize them is go by your own experiences, because you, as the person reading the cards, it's coming through you. You're the medium when it comes to this thing. So your experiences with something like this are going to help you discover what the message is that's coming through. Not just that, but combined with what is the question that's being asked as you're throwing the tarot cards. Usually there's a question, or even if it's a general reading, that's a way for you to understand each card. Now, here's another reason you don't want to memorize cards, is because when you're doing a spread, that's pulling a bunch of cards to have to do with that same inquiry, it's going to read pretty jilted if you just say this card means this, then this card means that, then that card means that. It's not going to make a lot of sense. You have to understand the relationships of the cards that work together. So I feel it's super important for you to just look at the deck, look at the cards, write some notes, journal on what you feel from the cards, because that's going to give you a better understanding on being open to the flow. Instead of looking at a card and going, oh my gosh, what did the Three of Swords mean again? I can't remember. To, oh yeah, maybe finding a richer imagery deck where you can delve into it a little deeper and you can take your time. It's not like flashcards where you got to come up with the answer quick. When you're learning tarot, take your time. Give yourself the time to journal on what you're picking up from it. And when I did that, I actually learned a lot about myself. I was able to overcome a lot of the past things that were still kind of niggling at my brain, when I could use tarot to come to an intellectual and emotional and mental understanding. And I was able to release things that way. So realistically, if you want to learn tarot to read for others, start to learn tarot to read for yourself first. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview there. Make sure that you get the free download below, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.